It's titled Negativity in Opera.
Okay. Buckle up!
This is from the subreddit r opera.
Oh boy, here we go.
It's titled Negativity in Opera.
Okay. Buckle up!
Alright, you're gonna love this one. I was watching different performances on YouTube last night.
Well, there was your first problem.
And under all the positive and supportive comments, people were complaining of wobble and singing flat and chastising anyone who thought positively of the singers. These are singers that I personally hold in high regard. Maybe some people are more sensitive to wobble and perfect pitch than I am, but I've noticed a lack of any sort of positivity in a lot of comments on opera and opera productions, and a lack of acknowledging that people can have different opinions. On the Met's Facebook post about Die Zauberflöte, people were saying this is the worst production they've ever seen, while others are saying it's one of the best. The Met would be unable to devise a production of any opera that would satisfy every single Facebook commenter. That's just fact. I guess I just don't understand the need to spread negativity. It's a field full of armchair experts who are not willing or able to concede that their opinions are, in fact, opinions.
Well, anyone who knows me personally knows that one of my favorite sayings about opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one. Some are stinkier than others. Nowhere will you find stinkier opinions than an opera-related comment thread, which will inevitably be filled with armchair opera queens, singers, and amateur enthusiasts who all think...
Or singers from several decades previously?
Yes. Yeah. What has helped me tremendously in my career when dealing with any type of criticism is the criticism coming from someone who can do what we do. Can that person get up in front of hundreds of people, under pressure, sing a role in a foreign language from memory, wearing a gigantic costume? Unless the person offering the criticism can do what I do, then everything is taken with a grain of salt and a thank you very much. We are entertainers, we are public-facing performers, and it is within their right as an audience member, as a paid audience member, as a subscriber, to have an opinion. It doesn't mean it's right, it doesn't mean it's valid, and it doesn't mean it should have any bearing over the art that you make and your craft and your talent. Mm-hmm. If I am getting feedback from a voice teacher or a colleague that I respect, that's one thing. If it is a stranger on the internet who just doesn't like the sound of my voice or doesn't like an artist's interpretation of an aria, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, why would you give that person any type of power in your day?
This is a realization that I had as I got older. Young singers, it's so hard to keep this kind of objectivity and to have like what people tell you need when you're young is a thick skin. I am a very sensitive person. I would not say that I have a thick skin particularly. What I have been able to do better as I've gotten older is parse out whether or not that criticism serves me.
Yeah, exactly.
And ultimately, and this is something that I've stressed a lot with young singers that I've mentored as well, if the criticism is not productive, if it is just criticism that I can't act on or that I can't like understand where it's coming from, then it's not relevant to me.
You know? If the criticism isn't going to help me improve,
yeah,
whether it be improve as a musician or as an actor or as a colleague or as an entrepreneur, if this criticism isn't going to help me, if its sole purpose is either to break me down, or to let them feel good about themselves, then why even bother with giving it space?
It's not even a thing where you have to think of yourself as like, I should not pay attention to this. I shouldn't let it hurt me. Ultimately, it's, if this is not something that I can take and improve myself with, then it is not relevant to me. This reminds me of a student of mine who just graduated from a very fine institution, and she kept getting this same feedback over and over and over again. You're too loud. And she would come to me and she would be really upset about it. It's like, I don't know what to do. And it's like, well, first off, you have a big voice and you are very young. So like, that is a good thing. Like you're loud. That's just who you are. That's okay. Loud is subjective, and like, let's get you on a big stage and let's see how loud you actually are. Like, we'll get you there. Your loud is not productive critique. That is not something that someone can act upon. If you tell a young developing singer who's growing in their craft, you are overblowing, you're singing with full force all of the time because such is happening. Here is how we fix it. Let's put together a plan of what to do in order to fix it. That is helpful critique. Anything else? Just you're flat. Okay, why? Why am I flat?
Yeah,
you're sharp. Why?
And the thing is,
you have tongue tension. Why? Tell me what I can do to fix it. Then that's critique that I actually will pay attention to, because that is something I can fix. Anything else is just designed to make you feel small. And life is too short to feel small for anything or anyone, particularly anonymous trolls on the internet.
Our industry, everyone is paid to criticize us, to give us feedback. Whether that be a coach, a conductor, a director, a casting director, a voice teacher. Their job is to give us feedback.
To find fault.
To give us useful criticism to improve.
Yeah.
So we are in an industry where every one of our colleagues is on some level tasked with making sure that we step it up and do a better job.
It's our job to interpret that.
Discerning and filtering where the feedback is coming from and why the feedback is given is, I think, mission critical in developing that thick skin that is talked about. The feedback and criticism will literally never go away. It's just we have to learn how to process it in a way that filters and allows us to extract what is usable.
Yes.
And anonymous opinions on the internet don't mean when it comes to learning how to sing or becoming a better performer.
Or even when they're not anonymous opinions, even when it's like a competition judge or what have you. Like, everybody is going to have an opinion on you. That is what it is to live in this world. Some people get a rougher hand of it than others, but ultimately everyone's going to have an opinion. You have to decide what is going to be useful and productive for you and to keep going on your path. If it is not a useful or productive comment, who cares? That does not serve you to dwell on it. You have practicing to do.
Yeah.
Here's a comment from Kate's for Cannoli. Opera fans are some of the most miserable people alive. I'm convinced many of them don't even like opera. They just like abusing singers for not living up to some imagined impossible standards so that they feel superior. People who have never had a voice in their life saying innate like she's not a real mezzo to Garanza.
I mean, one of my favorite things when I look back at these old videos from the golden age, I am not shading anyone here. I am making an observation about a change in style and trend. These great artists, who we are all being measured against, had the luxury of standing still and singing their arias.
Yeah.
None of them had to do the acrobatic, highly theatric stagecraft that we are expected to do.
Also, none of them had recording equipment that actually captured the full spectrum of their voice.
But
so we're comparing ourselves to something that we don't actually have an accurate depiction of.
No, but I'm even talking about if you look at recordings from like the 60s through the 90s, like the style of operatic staging was much more, we are going to give the singer their moment and allow them to do what they need to do to deliver vocal excellence at all costs. As things have gotten more theatrical, more cinematic, things have shifted to the point where they want a different type of delivery, which just makes the singing a bit more challenging when you don't have a director who is accommodating for that. If the expectation is to sing like these artists of you know, the Parthenon, what is it? Parthenon. Which one's in
Pantheon?
Rome? Which one's in Greece? Which one's in Rome?
Working Act 9300 says tenor gets cast in multiple Wagnerian roles at the Met and Bayreuth. Random guy on YouTube? He's not a held in tenor. Throwaway for Reddits says, the held in tenor thing is hilarious. Basically, the only guy who's held in tenorness I've ever seen question is Melchior, and then he still gets hate from people claiming his acting sucks. LMAO. What's funny, I've been a huge Windgassen fan since I started listening to Wagner as a young teen in the 2000s, and back then there were so many comments criticizing him for sounding too weak next to Nielsen, who loved performing with him, and just not having enough power or baritone quality in his voice to be a real held in tenor. For some reason, there are many more people praising him in recent years, which is great, but now I see his name being used to berate contemporary singers with "can't believe how Wagnerian performances have fallen since the time of real held in tenors like Windgassen." I sort of personally was affected by this because I really believed there's been no decent Wagnerian singing since 1990 or so. And I neglected seeing Wagner's operas live for years. I mean, I still love the Bayreuth live recordings from the 50s, don't get me wrong, but recently I've discovered a lot of currently active singers whom I really enjoy, even if they don't have the vocal power of Melchior or the timbre of Windgassen. I just learned to ignore the online haters. So this person is a supporter and also a hater in the same comment. Whatever. Held in tenor, what do you have to say about that?
So I actually adore Windgassen's Bayreuth recordings, and honestly, anyone studying these operas needs to listen to the Bayreuth recordings from the 50s through the 70s. One, because there are so many mistakes, and it gave me such peace of mind when I was preparing these roles and dealing with memory slips, and I'm like, oh, even the greats had these same struggles. If you're working on this repertoire, take a listen, because it just shows how incredibly difficult these roles are. And even people who were famous for them struggled. Melchior is not one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. That's because I don't identify with what he does vocally, because it is so baritonal and burnished.
And that's not how your instrument functions.
And that's not how my instrument functions. And frankly, that's not the way that I wish to sing that rep.
Right.
So I'm always looking at people like Windgassen, like James King, Max Lawrence. There are some really lesser known singers who really dominated this rep. As far as whether someone is or isn't a this or isn't that, my argument would be go and look at some of these archival cast lists on the Bayreuth Festspiele website. Look at how many roles from this repertoire these people were singing in their given seasons. And then tell me whether or not someone is a held in tenor or a dramatic soprano when they are singing 4 different leading roles in the span of 2 weeks.
Well, also, like, they don't have to be the held in tenor or the dramatic soprano of your dreams.
No.
I sing Wagnerian repertoire. I have certain qualities about my voice that very much questioned what repertoire I would sing in my life from seemingly the beginning. And ultimately, the more I stuck to repertoire that felt authentic and honest to what my instrument wanted to do, the more it led me towards Wagnerian repertoire. And I do not have some qualities of other Wagnerian singers, and I would never want to compete with them, because if that's what you are looking for, if you are looking for a Jessie Norman or a Nina Stimme, that is not my voice. That doesn't diminish what I do, and it doesn't mean that I'm not real.
My argument...
We don't have to prove our identity to anyone. If you don't like that person singing that role, if that's not your cup of tea, don't listen to it.
Well, and going back to what I said previously, my argument is, unless you've sung Siegfried, unless you've sung Isolde, unless you've sung Hans Sachs, don't come and tell me that I'm not a held in tenor. If you're going to come to my YouTube channel and say, not a held in tenor, then I would like to see your credentials that show me that
it doesn't even matter. Like, that's the thing. It's like, not a held in... Okay, that is your opinion. Again, this goes back to my point of, like, that is not relevant to me or my life.
There's a great Leontine Price quote when she was asked about
She had the
reviews,
best one-liners.
and she said, I choose to block the negativity out of the ambiance.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
yes, ma'am.
yeah, if you are not adding something positive to my experience, thank you, goodbye.
Kate's for Cannoli says again, I think not a small factor is misogyny. I think the opera fan base is much more misogynistic and culturally regressive than the majority of people working in the industry. And the perception of it being a female-dominated art form, which is also not true, brings out the nastiness. Anecdotally, I've noticed women and non-white singers get more and the worst of these comments. Yeah, I mean, non-white singers, for sure. Women always get a lot of abuse online. There's not a single recording that I have seen on Facebook, YouTube, Insta, whatever, where at least some of the commenters are being nasty. The internet is a place that, you know, for better and for worse, it is the picture of Dorian Gray of humanity. It reflects our ugliest sides and also some of our most beautiful sides. Where there are humans doing exceptional things, which singing opera, singing in general, but singing classical music in particular, whether it is an amateur, an avocational enthusiast, or a professional, is using your body in a way that is almost superhuman.
Yeah.
It is for me one of the most sacred and holy things that the human body can do. It's on par with ballet, with gymnastics, with all of it. Like what our body is able to do to create and harness sound is a sacred thing. And where there are examples of humans being exceptional, there will always be people who are hurting, who can't handle it. So let them. It's not relevant. It ain't gonna help my life. It's not gonna pay my bills tomorrow.
Yeah.
What's your saying? If it's not...
Oh, I don't think I can put that saying on the internet.
All right, we'll say
that. While it is something that I do live by, I think that is something that is best saved for personal one-on-one conversation.
Okay. All right.
But I do have a thought.